sucks. That's boxing at its finest right there. You heard it. They said it. Make that bad. Everything on the line.
Gervonta is an animal for real. Jake is too domestic. Here's the thing, Mike Tyson's an animal too. He was just 60. But he messed around and he got a...
Gervonta Tank Davis is pushing himself harder than ever ahead of his showdown with Jake Paul. His camp is pure intensity, non-stop sparring, explosive pad work, and grueling conditioning sessions that reveal his hunger to prove that true boxing power beats celebrity hype. Analyst Showbiz The Adult warns that Jake Paul may have made the biggest mistake of his career by calling out a fighter still in his prime. Tank has already dismantled bigger men like Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios, proving not just knockout power but elite adaptability. Showbiz explains Jake thinks he's repeating the same playbook that worked against older names like Nate Diaz or when he teased Mike Tyson, but Tank is a different breed. He's not a fading legend chasing paydays, he's an active world champion with speed, precision, and finishing intent. According to Showbiz, Jake has entered a challenge that could expose the huge gap between an entertainer learning boxing and a true master operating at peak form.
And done, the whole talking shit goes out the window. Jake's scared. And let me tell you this too. I looked at that, I'm sizing them up, I'm looking at Tank and Jake, and I'm looking at them. Tank can reach him too. He reached Ryan Garcia. He reached Mario Barrios. I was like, he ain't gonna be able to reach him. He's gonna reach him, so Tank's gonna reach him. He knows he's gonna reach him. Listen, I wanna say this too. Funny as hell. Before I say all this, Alicia Baumgardner, shout out to you, girl. I couldn't believe out of all the women to be the first one to do 3 minute, 12 rounds is Alicia Baumgardner. And I really know if I have a great endurance, great stamina, and she's doing this shit. Shout out to Alicia Baumgardner. Because, what's her name, Layla? I don't really know her like that. But she looks like she ain't rattled by Alicia, so that's a perfect dance partner for that. Trying to drag Alicia Baumgardner into lake water, see what's going on with that. Shout out to Alicia Baumgardner. But let's get back to Tank. First of all, Tank knows what he's doing. Tank Davis, he said, he was just making all these implications that it's going to be scripted. When he said, you're paying me, and then he was like, yo, you're going to have to give me extra, and then he said that this is scripted.
At the end of the day, I gave this little guy an opportunity. He should be thanking me. I'm paying him. I'm his boss. He reports to me, and I'm going to fucking son him on November 14th. So fuck you, little man.
You paying me? Are you paying me?
Yeah.
100%? 100%. Facts?
Correct.
Yes? Correct?
Correct. I'm your daddy.
40. Where 40 at?
Some analysts caution that Tank Davis might be taking on too big a challenge. Jake Paul's size and natural strength could make a major difference once they share the ring. While Tank dominates smaller divisions with speed and precision, moving up in weight introduces real risk. Experts remind that weight classes exist for balance, and crossing them can be dangerous. Even with Tank's elite skills, facing a naturally heavier and stronger opponent adds unpredictable danger that shouldn't be overlooked.
Who will win in this fight? Jake Paul or Tank Davis? It's a legit question. And I actually want to really hear your thoughts on who do you think is going to win. Because I know what Vegas is saying, but I want to know what you think. You got
Personally, I think Tank too little, bro.
Yo,
I think Tank too little.
I'm so glad you have a brain on your fucking shoulder.
I think Tank too little.
I said, bro.
I think Tank's too little. That's what I'm saying. At weight classes for a reason.
Davis
That weight class for a reason.
5'5", 135 pounds. Jake Paul is 6 feet, 205 pounds.
That's what I'm saying.
Bro.
He's too
6'1",
little.
205. Everybody's like, yeah, bro, but Tank it only takes one good punch. Yes, it takes one good punch when you're about the same size. There's a 60, 70 pound difference in weight in these people. I don't think nobody puts the physics in mind. Jake Paul gets punched in the face by dudes 200 pounds with all their might on a weekly basis. 135 pound puncher, bro. If y'all remember the Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, Conor walks around like 180 on the regular. He's like 5'9", 180. Mayweather's like 5'7", 145. That 30 pound difference, bro, if you remember that fight, Mayweather was putting mittens on Conor. Guess what happened to Conor? He didn't hit the ground once. No. He lasted all 12 rounds getting hit with flurries. I'm talking about Mayweather was having his time. He's being cocky with it, hitting him with all kind of combos. And we're watching the last 3 rounds of that shit like, yo, knock him out. And you know what? He could not knock him out because Conor gets punched by people that are 170, 180 pounds on a regular. And just that 20, 30 pound difference, it was like impossible for him to do anything. And that's exactly what I feel like is going to happen versus Jake.
At the press conference, Gervonta Davis's calm, collected demeanor spoke volumes. While Jake Paul thrived on provocation, Tank remained composed, focused, disciplined, and unfazed. His quiet confidence reflected the mindset of a champion who knows what's at stake. For Davis, this isn't about fame or viral moments, it's about proving that skill, patience, and ring IQ still define greatness. His poise showed that true champions don't need chaos to shine, they rely on preparation and belief. The message was clear: Tank Davis came to fight, not perform.
And you can tell, you can just look at him and tell, like, no, this dude he's gonna get this money for sure, because there's so much money out there to be had. But Jake Paul better be not playing around, man. Not get cute, not play any games, don't hit him in the back of the head, don't rabbit punch him, don't do any of that stuff, man, because Mike Tyson, first of all, Mike Tyson, a lot of people think Mike Tyson was pulling punches on Jake Paul, and a lot of people think that Anderson Silva was pulling punches on him too. You're not gonna have a little Gervonta out there pulling punches on you, man, if you're out there playing games. So, I don't like the fight at all. However, as far as it being an entertaining situation, I almost guarantee you that fight itself is going to be entertaining. That it's going to be something that you look at and you're going to say, man, everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to want to know what happens in it. But at the same time, it's kind of like what people think, when you see a car crash, like you're driving down the road and all of a sudden the traffic gets heavy and you're like, man, I'm going to be in traffic for a long time. And then you drive forward a little bit and then you see, oh man, this is some accident on the other side of the road and everybody just slowing down to watch. That's the type of entertainment that you can expect from this fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. There's going to be a lot of people watching it, but I gotta say, man, you really can't blame the guy on what he's doing. And there's a lot of criticism flying on Gervonta Davis. It's not Gervonta Davis's fault that boxing took this turn. This turn of these exhibition fights and people not caring about the belt and all of that stuff came with...
Veteran analyst Teddy Atlas compares Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis to Logan Paul's exhibition with Floyd Mayweather, but notes the key difference. Tank isn't Mayweather coasting, he's a predator in his prime. While Jake enjoys a reach advantage, Atlas insists experience will decide the outcome. Tank's instincts, timing, and composure, honed over years at the elite level, will dismantle Jake's physical edge. In Atlas's view, Davis's ring intelligence will completely neutralize Paul's power.
You do have one guy who, he's smaller, but he's a top fighter, he can punch. And he's fighting a guy who's not a top pro fighter, who's bigger. What if he hits him on the chin? It'll wind up selling. And that's what'll wind up selling it. The what if. What if Tank makes him do a cha-cha? He hits him on the chin, and Jake Paul, we're going to find out if he can dance. Whoa. Do the cha-cha. That's what's going to sell it. And you can't argue that what if. You can't. I know I get to places that other people won't go and everything else that just dismiss stuff because it's easier to do that, it's safer to do that. You don't have the bows and arrows coming at you from people that argue with you because you did that, but I don't care. I've had bows and arrows my whole life. I don't care. But that's true. That what if? What if this guy who is a real good puncher, who is one of the best fighters in the world right now, what if he hits him? What if he makes a miss and he counters him? Or he jumps up in the air? Bang! And he hits him. Sid Terrace was a great fighter. No, not the 1700s, but years ago. And Cus D'Amato told me he loves Sid Terrace. He said, Teddy, he used to jump up in the air and hit you with 3 jabs. I said, whoa, man, Sid Terrace. All right. Anyway, look, I can't finish without saying that it did invoke some memories and thoughts that we've been here before in a different way, where Jake Paul's brother fought Mayweather. That's not forget.
Analyst Luke Thomas sees a new side of Gervonta Davis this camp, quieter, more introspective, focused not on fame but on legacy. He believes Tank senses this fight is about defending the integrity of boxing against celebrity influence. That maturity shows a fighter aware of the weight of history. Thomas says this mental evolution could be Tank's sharpest weapon if he channels it correctly, enhancing precision and timing. But if pressure slows him down, it could test his rhythm. Either way, Davis's mindset reflects a man determined to prove that skill and discipline still rule over height.
Prime or relative prime straying off the path, but this one is not. It's not like someone else, in a similar weight. It's like completely the opposite. So that makes it, I think, look and feel weird. And then on top of it, obviously, Gervonta's got other business to handle. He looked to me, Gervonta, absolutely, completely disinterested. Even at the beginning of this year, and even at the pre-fight Lamont Roach stuff, Tank was talking about how much time he has left in boxing, which he was wasn't much. The Lamont Roach fight, it blew up in his face, but Lamont Roach was cherry-picked. I think Tank thought, I'll just fight another guy from, the Mid-Atlantic area who's, remember Roach came up from 30 to 35 to fight him, and Tank thought he was just going to cruise, and then it blew up in his face, and, you're left with that. So, you're making a point about, he's got this obligation. That's true, but he was already fucking around. He was already taking opponents that, again, I think Roach showed everyone that was a mistake, but put yourself in Tank's mind. Tank was taking a fight against someone he was clearly, in his mind anyway, better than, and was just going to cruise. So he was already in that state. Then you marry that with statements like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, and blah, 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 and, I'm worried about going to therapy because it'll take away my competitive edge, and, kind of teetering on the edge a little bit about, whether or not this is a thing he wants to do. Then he, does a draw in that fight.
The Davis-Paul rivalry perfectly represents modern boxing split between spectacle and sport. Jake Paul, the larger-than-life entertainer, thrives on attention and power, while Gervonta Davis embodies mastery, patience, and tradition. This matchup asks a timeless question: can raw strength overcome refined skill? Beyond bragging rights, it's a battle between two worlds, entertainment versus authenticity. Their clash will determine which truly dominates the modern ring.
Jake's 200 and something pounds. That's still going to hurt at the very least, and who knows what, because Tank's got ridiculous power. So Jake, a little sloppy on the push there. He got pushed. He wanted to get it back. There's something to be taken away from that, but lines up perfectly for a counter left hand. And you even see his promoter here is kind of grabbing his left hand because Tank wanted to let it fly. And Jake backed up a little bit. He said, and Tank comes with that. Tank, man. Tank said, where I'm from, the bullies get bullied. All right, dude, there you go. Listen, takeaways from this thing, I don't know. Tank seemed to have a little bit more energy today. He seemed to be more lively. Him going back and forth with the media, with Jay Leon, with Jake, with Aiden Ross. There seemed to be a bit more energy today. That's all I really asked for. So in terms of, selling us on something, sure. Better job today from both guys. Jake, seemed a bit more locked in here with Tank as well. They had a little bit more fun. Tank going after Kisa was pretty funny. But listen, this doesn't change anything in my mind. The 10-ounce gloves doesn't really change anything to me. Again, I think that's a bad idea for Tank, more so because even if Jake doesn't land clean, those are 10-ounce gloves, still going to hurt. Tank is still punching in gloves that are 2 ounces heavier than he normally uses, so I don't know how that's a win for him. The $2 million bet almost certainly won't happen, which I didn't think would in the first place, but Tank pretty much confirmed it. And we're all left with the same kind of idea that we thought about this to begin with. This is an entertainment exhibition that we know is going to draw a ton of eyeballs. I'm going to watch, and there's going to be great high-level competition boxing on the underneath card. And even in the main event, if something is to happen, if someone is to get knocked out, it will go mega viral. And both these guys...
Promoter Nakisa Baidarian confirmed both fighters will wear 10-ounce gloves, a surprising rule that immediately stirred debate. Smaller gloves mean less protection, more speed, and more knockout potential. While Jake's size is an advantage, this rule levels the field, making every exchange more explosive. At 195 pounds max weight, both men face equal risk in what promises to be a fast, dangerous, and high-stakes battle.
Most of you guys know boxing, right? Most of the fights are with 10-ounce gloves. Fighters spar in 16-ounce gloves. 12-ounce and 10-ounce gives you a little bit more safety, which is the key here, given the size difference, but there's a massive experience difference. We will have 3 world-class judges ringside that the commission has approved. to ensure there's a rendered decision for the fans. It will not go on their record, but there will be 3 experienced judges, some of the best in the business, giving their view of who won the fight.
So let me just follow up with this then. You know, the Florida statute says that it means an exhibition means a boxing, kickboxing, or mixed martial arts.
You saw the exhibition of Floyd and Logan.
Okay.
So just go with that, and if they weren't trying to...
As the fight dominates headlines, Floyd Mayweather once again pulls some spotlight, reminding the world of his uncanny timing for relevance. Yet amid all the noise, Gervonta Davis remains grounded, focused solely on training and performance. Whether fans favor Jake's size or Tank's skill, only the ring will decide. In the end, Davis plans to let his fists speak louder than all the hype.
It'll be an exhibition fight, end quote. Similarly to the concerning location move, he states that the main reason for this is the significant weight disparity between the 2 opponents. An exhibition is defined by Florida statutes as a boxing, kickboxing, or mixed martial arts engagement in which persons participating show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win, using strikes, elbows, blah, blah, blah. So, the key word here is, key phrase, show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win.
That's it for today's coverage. Stay tuned for more updates as the countdown to Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis continues.